Is that better? That should be better. All right, I should be coming in loud and clear. Well, that's awesome. Well, we always love a good hiccup in the show, but we already gave praise to the Lord. You might not have heard it, but I did it. And we are good. We are here and we are live. Thank you to my team for letting me know that I could not be heard. Our first segment today is a good one. And again, I apologize for the hiccup, but without hiccups, where would we be? This first segment is something that is kind of strange, but we're going to get right into it. Mexico Trump appeasement. So we're going to start with Mexico. Mexico has been very, very tumultuous when it comes down to, you know, being compliant to demands from the United States, not just the demands from Trump, but the United States as a whole, because asking people not to allow drugs into their country and stopping it in your country before it can get to ours is not a hard ask. But for whatever reason, they've been pretty hard on at not following through with that. Well, this is kind of sort of a change, but I have an opinion that I'll give in a second about this. They just transferred 37 cartel-linked operators to the United States. And this was confirmed by Mexico's own security minister. And it matters because it's not the first time that this has happened. And it's kind of been hush-hush. Why, I don't know. But I think when I give my opinion, you might understand a little bit more context as to why, or why I believe that they've been hush-hush. This is the third mass transfer this year. Well, 2025 going into this year. These detainees have ties to major name cartels like Tren de Agua, MS-13, SIN, and so on and so forth. They were flown out under a heavy armed military guard, both by the U.S. military and by Mexico's military, for whatever that's worth overall. And then they were handed over to U.S. authorities. And I can't help but to ask, why now? And that question is more for you than it is for me, because I actually know why. It's because Trump's applying pressure. The problem here, and this is where my opinion comes in, is that I wholeheartedly believe this is an appeasement tactic. Because how many times has Donald Trump and his administration asked the imposter Jew president of Mexico, can we come in and help you? You can't seem to get the cartels under lock and key and under control. Can we send our military and help? Because show of force and strength really does go a long way when you're staring down the barrel of a fully automatic weapon. And that's not to say that the cartel doesn't have that, but the cartel doesn't have the bodies. They might have the money, but they don't have the bodies. And when you start dropping bodies, things change. Things change. So I wholeheartedly believe this particular move is, as I have it titled, Mexico's Trump appeasement. So they're trying to appease Trump, saying, hey, I know we said you couldn't come here. I know you said we said we don't want your help, but we don't want your tariffs either. We don't want your sanctions either. So let us give you some of these guys as a bargaining chip, as an appeasement, as a please leave us alone. Be distracted by the rattle over here while we continue to peddle drugs. It's kind of like what went down with the Venezuelan president, Maduro. We know he was in on the take, right? Or are you obtuse? Because there's no way that you're asked by another world leader to stop something from happening and you act like it wasn't happening. This is the same behaviors of Mexico's president. She's acting as if she has no clue. But I recall, and if you recall, because you've been around with me, I brought for you guys in an earlier show where a mayor in Mexico called out the president of Mexico, saying that she was in on it. And he ended up dead. So overall, if you really think about it, sounds like she's silencing people that speak out against her. The problem here is she can't silence Trump. Drug money might be big money, but Trump has U.S. taxpayer money. And this is why we are the largest economy in the world. But I don't like this move. And I wholeheartedly believe that that is why Trump has not made big plastering billboards about Mexico's in compliance, because he himself knows as well this is not compliance, because he wants the drugs to stop in totality. Giving me a few big names does nothing when you replace that big name with the next guy in line and just give him all the funding and all the guns and all the cars and the pack mules and all this other stuff, when it doesn't change anything. So when you see Mexico hand over 37 big name gang members, they've replaced those 37 with 74. Hear me out, because you need a next backup guy. So the next 37 step in and the next backup guy steps up. And that's the on deck guy. If you guys know anything about baseball or wrestling or sports like that, you got a guy that's always on deck, ready to go up to bat and swing for the fences. And that's what I believe Mexico is doing. It sounds very opinionated, but if you look outside of the scope of Democrat and Republican and use common sense, which I know is a dying thing in America, you can actually see overall that things are changing for the worse. And you see that these people are making moves that are not televised because it goes against the narrative. And we know for a fact that the media is not going to side with Donald J. Trump on anything. They want him to fail. And he has failed in some areas and he's done good in some areas. But overall, I would keep a close eye on who they keep sending, because that indeed is important, but also who they're replacing them with. And it's funny because I think the Mexico president thinks that America's stupid because Trump has a loud mouth, but we have some of the greatest intel in the world. We know what you're doing. We know the games you're playing. It might be a setup. I don't know. It could be a setup. I believe it's probably a setup. But we're going to have to wait and see on that front right there. The next thing I would love to talk about, and I want to just keep it clear and 100 with you. It's just because I've come into some information which I've thought about before I get into this particular topic, but it's topic related. Greenland's not about minerals. Greenland is about AI. But that's a topic for another time. When it happens, I'll bring it to you. But I do have to give you this right now. There is a tug of war going on in Greenland right now, and it's a total standoff. European Union lawmakers have pulled the plug on any EU-US trade pacts. They're like, hey, if you keep doing what you're doing with Greenland, we're not going to play nice with you. President Donald Trump is not going to back down on this. He threatened tariffs to anyone that interfered with the dealings between him and Greenland. Greenland is a strategic location that they, the narrative that they spew out there. It's strategic and we got to have it for defense and minerals and all this other stuff. Again, I totally believe that it's for AI, because, and my reasoning for that is that AI needs a cooling system. Greenland is not green. Greenland is cold. Iceland is green. I know, crazy with the names, but ice stays cold. And you can use that ice to keep that AI cool and not have to worry about using water, cold water, refrigerant, and all this other stuff. So that's why I believe that it's more so about AI than anything else. And we have seen Trump on multiple occasions back the push for AI, and especially advancements when it comes to corporations. So the European Parliament froze the trade deal after the tariff threats were floated by Trump. And we know Trump is, he likes to throw a good flex when it comes to tariffs. However, it has worked out beautifully, and a lot of countries have bent the knee. Again, we are the largest consumer in the world, next to the largest, we are the largest consumer and the largest, Lord have mercy, having a brain fart. We have the largest economy in the world, and we are the largest consumers. So when you cut out the largest consumer, when we consume more than anybody else, it kind of hurts your bottom line. It's like losing your best customer that buys all of your stuff. The dispute over all this centers on Greenland, of course, which, for the record, is not a part of the European Union. It's also not a part of the UN. It's also not a part of NATO. So my question is, why are they so upset? It's not a part of anything that is associated with you guys. Yeah, all of these people are telling Trump he can't do it. It's kind of weird. And on the other side, Trump continues to flex these tariffs for leverage, and he's done such a beautiful job with it. But this is geopolitical tug of war that looks less like diplomacy and more like two kids yanking a rope. Because, in my opinion, if Greenland wants to become a part of the United States as a sovereign landmass, let them. European Union, NATO, UN, UK, stay out of it. It's none of your business. But if they don't, then Trump does need to back. And for those that don't know history, this is like the 7th time the United States as a whole has tried to acquire Greenland. So don't think that this is a one-time, Trump's a dictator trying to take over the world. No, Greenland has been on the table multiple times, all the way back to the 1800s. If you read, you would know that. A lot of people don't read. But the EU says you can't do it. Trump says, watch me. But here's the inconvenient truth. Both sides seem to ignore Greenland is not property. It's a bargaining chip. Yeah, I know it sounds like it might be property, but it really is a bargaining chip because it benefits whoever can control it. If Greenland wants closer ties with the U.S., like I said, then it shouldn't be a decision of anyone else but Greenland. And the fact that they're trying to fight Trump on this tooth and nail, it's crazy to me. But as an update to this story, which before I did this, I didn't have this information. Now that I do, Trump is going to push to offer a $700 billion incentive to acquire Greenland. I know, I hear it now. Oh, I thought it was America first. That's not America first if you're giving all those countries money. It's a trade deal. $700 billion is a lot of money, but I would rather spend $700 billion to acquire something than spend $700 billion on Ukraine or Israel or Palestine, because those are futile fights. There's no winning there. He's also going to float the idea of giving all 57,000 inhabitants of Greenland $100,000 each, pushing the grand total from $700 billion to $706 billion. That is a pretty sweet deal, if you ask myself. However, will they go for it? Will they bend the knee to this? The EU is trying everything they can to stand in front of it and say, this is a sovereignty thing. We're going to get the UN involved and have the international justice courts involved and all this other stuff, which I have another story about them later on. It doesn't matter. You can't do anything about it. And if you keep pressing on Trump, he's going to pull out of everything. His pullout game is amazing. NATO, pull out. Paris Climate Accords, pull out. And if UN keeps pressing him, he's going to pull out on that too. So just let the man attempt. And if Greenland wants it, then they become a part of America. If they don't, then Trump should back. And if he presses the issue, I don't agree with it. Unless he's going by way of a diplomatic approach by offering a deal. Then I would be okay with that. However, it's going to be a bad storm. A very, very bad storm if he continues and they don't want to, if they say no. On the next topic, speaking of the EU and UK and the Europeans and all this other stuff, did you know that Britain is a Benedict Arnold? And this one's big. This particular story is big. And I know it might seem boring, but hear me out. Donald Trump is openly blasting the UK over a move that could undermine both British and American security in its entirety. And Trump is on this huge push and kick for national security, national security. Well, Britain says we don't care about your national security. Britain is attempting to broker a transfer to cede sovereignty of the Chagos Islands. That includes the Diego Garcia Island as well, which is one of the most critical US-UK military bases on the planet. This is why this is important. It's not just it's a deal, we're going to help them and give them this land and all this other stuff. No, you're going to give these people one of the most strategic military placements on the planet. Just to give you some understanding as to why Diego Garcia and the island of Chagos is important, it allows the United States to mobilize its bombers with a 5 to 6 hour response time to anywhere in Africa and anywhere in the Middle East. So you know how we dropped those really big bombs in Iran? Yeah, they flew out of there. It allowed them to load and mobilize and shoot out with the quickness and return all the way back to the United States as if they never left. But if they let this go, then we lose a potential rapid response launch point. From here, the United States launches bombers, like I stated, and they also conduct a lot of naval activities and operations out of this island as well. Yet Britain is over here exploring the deal to transfer the islands to Mauritius, which is a country in Africa, not to be confused with the other story we're going to get to later about the other one that sounds like Mauritius, while keeping the base access through lease back agreement. Now, the crazy thing about this particular agreement is that they're going to give this land back to Mauritius because the ICJ, International Courts of Justice, which is ran by the UN, says that you obtained this land in a way that was not legal and lawful from Mauritius during their transitioning period from going from a penal colony to their own sovereign nation. And they're like, hey, you got to give it back to them. That was in 1969. It's 2025 now. I don't think they're missing the land. But the main issue is you're going to give up something that you already own because someone made a suggestion or an advisory step to tell you to do so that you don't have any allegiance to. You have no allegiance to the UN. Yeah, you're a part of the UN, but you don't have to do what they say. You don't. And there's nothing that they're going to do about it. Mauritius is not, they're not missing this landmass. However, if you give this to them with this little deal that they're trying to orchestrate, we have to pay them $100 million a year to have our military bases there. Whereas we weren't paying that much because Britain owns the land and it was a joint operation. And Britain knows they need us more than we need them. So make it make sense. Why are we giving up something, Britain, to appease a bunch of people who have no skin in the game? That is going to decrease your national defense, and it's going to decrease our national defense. It's going to decrease your world prowess, and it's going to decrease ours. And let's say they do this. It goes through. It goes through clean. Why are we spending American taxpayer money on an island that we already had joint partnership in? Why surrender sovereignty over a strategic crown jewel? Who cares that Mauritius wants this land back? It's been ours, Britain's and ours, for a very long time. Britain's had it since 1969. Why would you give that up? Why trust the future governments to another nation to honor a Lend-Lease Act? Because that's really what it is. We lease you this land, you lend us your money. Essentially what it is. And this can be renegotiated at any time. And then they could turn around and say, hey, we don't want you here at all. Get your base, get your devices, and get out of here. Now we lose this foothold that we have in the Middle East. How do you think we get there so quickly? And it's going to be hard pressed to have some other country that's in that vicinity give us, placement. And the cool thing about these islands is it's an island. We have 360-degree view of what's coming at us. But if you put us somewhere on a landmass that's landlocked, we now have to watch our back, and we might not necessarily see it coming. This is a strategic shot. Britain is kneecapping both themselves and America at the advice of a group of people who have no skin in the game, who don't really care. It's almost like they're trying to cripple a superpower. The UN is not our friend. Anybody that says anything differently doesn't understand how it really works. They don't. They really, really don't. But onto more of a American-centric topic here. This particular topic I'm happy about. This is power to the people. And why is it power to the people? It's power to the people because this one is hitting home, pun intended. Donald Trump signed a new executive order that aimed at stopping Wall Street firms from buying up single-family homes. Now, I don't know if you guys know what took place in 2008. George Bush killed the housing market, right? Well, Obama fixed it. We'll get to that in a second. For the first time in years, Main Street is being pushed back. They're being pushed back. And when I say Main Street, I mean the corporations here. The executive order restricts a large financial firm of any kind and institutional investors from competing directly with everyday Americans in the housing market. We can't compete with them. They have all these backers and all this other stuff. If they want to, they can come in and buy a whole neighborhood. Or they can go build one up and then force you to pay double than what it actually would cost to buy a house. Has anybody noticed that the housing market has gone up? That the cost of your home that was once $230,000 is probably sitting somewhere closer to $400,000. The average home in America ranges between $450,000 to $500,000. You can't pay that off. You'll spend all your life trying to pay it off. Then you'll pass away, and then your kids will lose the house to the bank because the bank owned it in the first place. It was all a strategic plan, but Trump is trying to change that and give power back to the people. This move directly, ultimately, what Trump is doing, challenges the system that exploded after the 2008 housing crisis. Under Barack Obama, major banks and mortgages and investor giants were able to basically stabilize the housing market. But through their stabilization, they turned it into domination. Homes meant for families were bought out by banks and by corporations. And as I understand it, according to their own United States codes, banks can't own homes. But because of what Barack Obama did, they can. So they violated their own laws, their own statutes, their own codes, their own policies. And the American dream quite literally went from owning a home to just being able to have a rentals agreement. So a sharper look at this is, in reality, when Wall Street buys homes, prices go up. And what Barack Obama ultimately did is said, hey, we're going to have private homeowners. We're going to have Wells Fargo, PNC, Bank of America, and all these private mortgage companies, which if you do your homework well enough, you understand that BlackRock is involved, Vanguard is involved. These hedge funds where these multiple men sit around with lots and lots of money, make decisions to go buy up things. Barack Obama used that to stabilize. Those private homeowners were also a part of the same banking system. So he didn't stabilize the market or fix the market. He propped it up to sell it out. And when prices go up, families get locked out. And I covered earlier this year a story in Michigan where families were, they had a family home and the people took it to court because they were kicked out of a home that was already paid off. Already paid off because of this kind of situation, because of loopholes. And you know, big corporations are going to do any and everything to benefit themselves and not you, because they see you as a consumer, as a dollar sign, not as a customer who's always right. And when families get locked out, communities start to collapse. We see this left and right. There's no such thing as a community anymore. There's no more block parties where people gather together and have fun. There's no more 4th of July cookouts in the neighborhood anymore. You're lucky if people go to the beach and cook out together. The executive order doesn't just regulate markets, it rebalances the power that, hear me out, I don't just blame Barack Obama. I also blame George Bush. It was a coup. Don't believe me? Go back and look at the steps that good old Bush signed in office. Either he was a total and complete idiot or he was complicit. From the hedge funds back to homeowners is what is happening. And from corporations back to the citizens, which should have happened from the get-go. The bottom line here is housing was never meant to be speculative assets for billion-dollar firms. It was meant to be a foundation for families in America because we are the ones that keep this country rolling. Now they're trying to undermine us and sell us out if you keep it 100. If enforced properly, the executive order could begin undoing nearly 2 decades of damage. This isn't anti-business, it's pro-people, and I'm here for it. If you're not, then you might not be American. You just might not be American. And then we can have a different conversation at that point in time because personally, there's a lot of people standing for a lot, but very few people standing for America. You'll stand for Palestine, Black Lives Matter, and turn your whole profile picture black. Ukraine, Palestine. I might have said that twice, but yeah, those musty, dusty people, you stand for them. Israel, you're standing for any and everybody but who you should be standing for. Because at the end of the day, Palestine's not going to help if we get in a fight. We've given them billions and billions of dollars. Israel isn't going to help, and we've given them billions and billions of dollars. How do I know they're not going to help? Do you recall the global war on terror under Bush? Yeah, 7,089 people from America, soldiers, military assets, died. How many Israel Defense Force died in that global war on terror that allegedly fought beside us? I'll tell you, 0. I'm not even going to hold it in. 0. None of them died. But we lost. So Israel's not going to help. Palestine's not going to help. Ukraine's not going to help. And all these other countries aren't going to help if we go hands to hand with somebody. So let's get real. Let's live in reality and live for America. But first, live for God, because that's the way to go. Our next segment here is something that is near and dear to my heart because y'all might hate him, but I love him. RFK is doing good. He's doing good. So this segment is about water here, right? You see it. First it was the food dyes, and now the spotlight's on bottled water in particular. After Doritos removed their harmful dyes from its products, America's biggest bottled water brands are next on the list. So if you haven't seen already, Doritos has the Naked brand, and all of it looks like albino chips, but that's removing the cancer-causing dyes. And this is factual. You can look it up. It's all on their paperwork. They tell you what it does because they have to, but they remove those. But the water is a problem. How many of you have drank bottled water? I drink bottled water because we've been convinced and indoctrinated to believe that bottled water is better for us because tap water is bad. Well, I remember drinking out of the spigot as a kid. It came out of the well. We had a little pump house. That water was delicious on a hot summer day after running around. It was delicious. And it was delicious all the way up until I was about 17, 18. And then I fell into the trap. I started drinking bottled water, filtered from the Great Lakes and flavored for taste. First off, if it's filtered, you're taking out what's good in it, what's necessary in it. And why are we flavoring water for taste? Water shouldn't really have too much of a taste. But have you noticed that water from certain stores make you parched, or they're kind of sweet? They got a little sweet taste to it. Well, it's because they're putting stuff in it. What's being found in the water should concern you. And they'll tell you, oh, it's coming out of the tap too. Yes, because your cities are putting the crap in your water as well. Independent studies, not just federal studies, these are people who have done this on the side for themselves. Independent studies have found harmful chemicals in major bottled water brands. That includes the names like Aquafina and Evian. You know, you got to be naive to drink Evian, but these chemicals are linked to certain things in these studies to cancer. It's always cancer. Mostly everything that alters your cells in any way, shape, or form will cause cancer, because your cells were created by God to function one particular way. And when you alter them, they start to do things that they're not, and they die. And dying things cause chaos, and they kill everything else around them. That's cancer. But it also causes other serious illnesses. And some come from disinfection processes. So they consider filtering this water as disinfecting it. Others come from microplastics. Either way, they're ending up in your water that every American drinks every single day. And water should not make you thirsty after you drink it. That's one thing that I remember a lot as a child. A lot is after I drank out of the spigot, it quenched my thirst. And I was like, man, I feel so much better. But ever since I've been drinking bottled water, I'll drink 6 or 7 bottles. And for whatever reason, I'm still thirsty. And this whole remineralized water, why is it being remineralized? Why'd you take the minerals out in the first place? They should have been there. It's normal. But now the thought of drinking out of the tap or out of the spigot is actually, oh, gross. But why? Why? We all did it as children. Why is it gross now? Why is it gross now? But here's the real question. No one wants really to answer this. Why are companies allowed to market pure water while contaminants still remain? Pure water comes out of the ground. The ground filters the water itself. As it goes through the sediment, it picks up what it needs, and then the pump house feeds it back up, and it has a little catch to filter out the particles so it comes out clean. Why are bottled water companies often regulated less strictly than public water systems? How does PepsiCo get away with it? And why are cities and corporations allowed to expose people to known health risks? These are not like these are just things that they are just now finding out. These are known and have been known for a long time. They sit behind closed doors in these corporate meetings and they tell you these things. Do you recall Campbell's chicken noodle soup, where the one of the board members of security in the board said, I'm not eating this crap. It's for poor people. This 3D printed chicken, it's gross. And no one knows what's in it. I played the video for you guys. This man said that he wouldn't do it. It's for poor people. First off, you got rich off of poor people, so don't knock poor people. But secondly, why are you okay with feeding people this crap? Why are you not ringing the alarm bells that Campbell's is putting 3D printed meat, and we don't even know if it's really chicken, in their soups? It's the same thing with these waters. Clean water should be something that's easy as just grabbing it and drinking it. It shouldn't be a guessing game and playing Russian roulette. Am I going to get cancer today from drinking this? Am I going to get sick from drinking this? Am I going to have microplastics that end up causing polyps and things in my body because my body's trying to push them out? Americans shouldn't have to choose between thirst and toxicity. If chemicals that are linked to cancer and other serious illnesses aren't allowed in food, then why should it be allowed in water? And there's some conspiracy theories that we could go down where they openly said that they're putting not just certain chemicals that cause diseases, but chemicals that are made in a lab that purposely are meant to dull us down. Oh, it's okay because the quantities are so small. Shouldn't be in there in the first place. I ask this a lot. Follow me here. And I know that you're listening. If I invite you over to have dinner, and I'm cooking your favorite meal, and it's 99% your favorite meal, but I sprinkle some arsenic in there, maybe some rat poisoning. It's only 1% arsenic or 1% rat poisoning. Are you going to eat that meal? No, you're not. Why? Because it has something that shouldn't be in there. But wait a minute, it's 99% pure, your favorite meal. Spaghetti, lasagna, sushi, pizza, whatever you like. It's 99% pure. But I'm going to stick this little bit of rat poison or a little bit of arsenic in there. Are you going to eat it? No, you're not. Unless you're mentally handicapped. That's a whole nother story for another time. But you're not going to eat it. You're not going to eat it. So why should we be subjected to this filth? It's mind-numbing. It's mind-numbing. And we just sit here as docile, compliant, complacent simpletons. Oh, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Start drinking out of your spigots. And if you have a pump house and a well, use that. I'm about to try to see if I can't get my well here retapped so I can start having real water again. And maybe my health will improve even more. But that's a story for a different time. I'll let you know how that goes. Our next story right here is pretty funny. Mini subpoena, short for Minneapolis or Minnesota subpoenas. And this one's pretty serious. But before we get into it too much, I'm so sick and tired. I want to say this. I'm so sick and tired of seeing subpoenas and like requests to come to court and testify. I'm so sick and tired of this and not seeing anything come from it. But I'm going to share this with you because of the number of people that were wrapped up in this. This is why I'm sharing this. And you might have seen this. This might be one of those stories that you have seen. But I bet you didn't know anything about that water. I want to see heads roll. Can I get a show of hands? Even though I can't see you, can I get a show of hands of those that might agree with me who want to see some heads finally roll? Because it would be fantastic to actually see these people held accountable for the things they're responsible for. The U.S. Department of Justice just issued subpoenas to the top Democrat officials in Minnesota. And this ain't a rumor. This ain't just some game. It's actually federal action, something that should have been done a long time ago. Subpoenas were served to Tim Walz, who conveniently said he's not going to run for re-election, Keith Ellison, and Jacob Frey, or Frey, whichever way you want to pronounce it. And along with many other city councilmen and leaders. The investigation centers on one question. Did the officials conspire to impede or obstruct immigration enforcement? So you're not allowed, USC 111, USC 15, I think 42, it is 18 USC. All of them begin with 18 because they're law. You're not allowed to impede them from doing their job. Whether you're a city councilman, a governor, whomever, you're not allowed to do that. And if you do, you're going to get charged with this. Specifically, whether the local actions interfered with federal processes is what they're really looking into, including the corporation or cooperation with immigration authorities. So this isn't about politics. It's about law. We have to get back to law. We have to get back to law. We have been so far removed from law, we have allowed lawyers to act as if they're above the law. We have to get back to truth and law. The federal immigration enforcement is not optional. It's not. It's controlled by Article 2, which is the president's branch, Article 2, because the power was delegated to Article 2 by way of Article 1, which is Congress. They gave the authority to Article 2 to be able to do this. Cities don't get to decide which federal laws they feel like following. If a state and local leaders actively obstruct any type of enforcement, really, that's not a resistance. You're not fighting the people or fighting the power. You're actively participating in criminal activities. You're committing a crime. And now the DOJ wants to have a tete-a-tete so they can get some answers. But I, as I stated earlier, don't give two damns about answers. I want to see heads roll. Follow me here. If you or I did any of the crap that Keith Ellison, Tim Walz, or Jacob Frey did, we would be in prison, open and shut. They wouldn't even subpoena us. They'd come here. Here's a warrant for your arrest. Lock us up. Go to court the following day because they would have it so set up so pretty. They run us through the system, guilty on all charges because we got irrefutable proof. You're going to prison for 25 to life. That's if you or I did it. Why do these people get to frolic through the fields of daisies and dance around responsibility and get away with this? It makes no sense. So I don't want any more subpoenas unless heads are going to roll. Evidence is something that is needed to be constitutional. We have the evidence. Now, let the bodies hit the floor and let the heads roll. No one is above the law, not governors, attorney generals, or mayors. None of them. And if officials cross the line, from my perspective, they need to be held accountable and fall under the same consequences that you or I would fall under. Because in America, the law is not optional, even for Democrats. So let's see some heads roll. Let's see some people get locked up. Let's see this happen. Because let's be real. Let's be real. Until that starts happening, I have all faith and hope lost in our legal system. All of it, gone completely. Doesn't exist anymore. Why? Because I get a ticket and they threaten to take my license away if I don't show up to court and threaten to throw me in jail for 30 days. But these people can embezzle money, launder money, help illegals get into our country, help illegals get government money, which comes from taxpayers, and then avoid all responsibility and accountability. And then they get to walk and go live in their $1 million mansions. Nah, shouldn't be that way. Should not be that way. It is not cool, not right, not okay. Why do we get in trouble but they get to walk? It's stupid. And if you agree with that, you're stupid. And I would tell you that to your face if I was there to see it. I have no qualms with that. But I'm going to get off this particular topic because this gets me fired up. I just want to see the heads roll. I want to see the heads roll. I'm tired of seeing everyday people get chopped up. I'm tired of Pam Blondie, sitting up there, well, we're doing this and doing that. Pam Bondi, shut up. You've done nothing. I'm back on the topic again. I'm off script. I'm back on the topic again. Pam Bondi is a joke. Pam Bondi is a part of the system. And poor Trump, love him to death, but he's ignorant because he sees big names and big flexes, and he's like, I want that person on my team. Trump, you are very susceptible to deception because you are like an ostrich. If it glitters, you think it's gold. And this is why you did in your first term, coming into your second term, said, I can't make those blunders anymore. And you're doing it again. You're doing it again. You're doing it again. You put Pam Bondi in there who's done jack crap. Oh, I'm going to get these people. I'm going to release this stuff. I'm going to do this. Pam Bondi, shut up. Until you have heads rolling, shut up. I don't want to see you on the TV. I don't want to see you behind a podium. I want to see you behind a desk scribbling on some pieces of paper, getting these people in courtrooms. Getting them in courtrooms. Because charging them in subpoenas and indicting them, you like they said when Jack Smith indicted Trump, you can indict a ham sandwich. Don't mean much. I want to see you work for the people, Pam Bondi. You're in the people's office. You're in the people's system. Work for the people. Stop working for the system. Otherwise, you're no good to me. You're no different than any of the Democrats. You're getting a paycheck and wasting taxpayers' money and then you're going to retire and say that you did something. You ain't done crap. Maybe dye your hair back its normal color because it's gotten down to your roots and defiled your mind. Dye your hair back your normal color and actually get to work. That box blonde ain't working for you no more. But again, I'm off that topic. Our next topic, we have one more after this, right here. And I'm going to let the videos do the talking. So to preface these videos right here, these are undercover footage. So we're coming with receipts. Undercover footage of some nefarious things going on where people are paying judges off to get some people in the country. And this woman is bold in what she's saying. Very bold. Let's check it out here. Oh, wrong button.
If anything they get, make it out there. I third out every shit you make up in it.
What happened?
I third out everything you make is mine.
So you tell the vet, hey, whatever I get you, give me a little something back.
No, third.
A third.
If you get $10,000, third is mine. If I can get to the judge, you know, that's the only person you want to talk to is the judge.
Wait, say that again.
If I can get through the judge, it's okay. Sometimes some people
So they'll pay you.
Some places, drink some big places where you don't even drink alcohol, but you're going to some big places.
Right.
The big boys sit down and drink. You visit those places.
Right.
Make a conversation with him.
Yeah.
You see. Yeah, this boy there and that day. You work that day? You say, yeah. You say, okay. $50,000. I send everybody to see all these names.
Yeah.
I have them in my book. Okay? I go to the bar like everybody should. Spot the judge. I say, you work on this date? You like, let me see my art calendar. You go in his phone. Yeah? What's your problem? I said, I got all these boys, man. Oh, right. Want to let them back here because they work for me.
So what she's saying here, if you couldn't catch it with her accent, by the way, she's from Mauritania, which is kind of like Mauritius. They're spelled similar, which both of these places are in Africa. One's on the East Coast, one's on the West Coast, one's an actual island. She's saying here that she goes to these judges, say, hey, I got these people I want to get in the country. And these are immigration lawyers and judges. Really, they're lawyers pretending to be judges. And she's saying, hey, I want to get these people in here. How much? $50,000? All right, we got it. Yeah, because they're going to come work for me. I need them in here. And so she's paying these judges off to help get them in the country. That sounds like a Democrat move. And this video was uncovered, and there's nothing to substantiate these videos other than these videos. And this is like your whistleblowers. And like I said, I'm pretty sure this is going to blow up in a couple of weeks. It's going to blow up. They're going to be like, oh, we have proof. Well, you're getting it here first. The footage is sent around a woman who is then identified as Patricia Golder, operating in Ohio. And in the video, she's claiming that her business helps illegals, primarily from Mauritania, however you want to pronounce it, to exploit the asylum process or the immigration process. According to the recording, migrants are allegedly coached on how to fabricate asylum claims. In the video, I have both videos. I have one more to show, but they're 25 minutes long and 10 minutes long. We'd be here all night picking that apart. So I'm just giving you a taste. But she's helping them obtain work permits, helping them secure social security numbers, and guiding them toward favorable outcomes